Story 1. The man behind the door. It was around 11:47 p.m. when I realized something was off. My house was too quiet. Not the peaceful kind, but that dead silence where you can actually hear your own heartbeat. I had just turned off the TV in the living room and was about to head upstairs when I heard a slow, dragging sound coming from the back door. At first, I thought maybe it was the wind brushing against the trash bins outside. But when it came again, slow, metallic, deliberate, I froze. It wasn't the wind. Someone was testing the handle. My neighborhood was quiet, mostly retired couples and early sleepers. I lived alone, having moved in just a few months earlier. I tried to shake off the paranoia, telling myself it was just my imagination. But then I heard it again. This time, a distinct click from the back door handle. It was the sound of someone trying to open it, quietly. I turned off the lights and stood completely still, my eyes adjusting to the darkness. That's when I saw the faint silhouette through the thin curtains, tall, still, and definitely human. I remember feeling my legs go numb, like the blood had left my body. My phone was charging in the kitchen, too far away to reach without passing the back door. My only option was to grab the old baseball bat I kept near the stairs. The silence stretched for nearly a full minute, and then 3 slow knocks broke it. Not loud, but heavy, like whoever it was wanted me to know they were there. The kind of knock that wasn't asking to come in, but announcing they already could. I slowly backed up toward the staircase, but the floor creaked beneath my foot. That's when the knocking stopped. I held my breath, staring toward the door. The silhouette moved slightly, then vanished. I waited, trying to hear any sign of movement, but all I caught was the faint sound of breathing. It was coming from inside now, just beyond the kitchen archway. I felt my stomach twist as I realized the back door was unlocked. I must have forgotten after taking out the trash earlier. There was no time to think. I bolted up the stairs, nearly tripping over myself, and slammed my bedroom door shut. My hands were shaking so badly, I dropped my phone twice before. Finally, dialing 911, I whispered to the operator that someone had broken in, trying not to make a sound. She told me to stay on the line until the police arrived. Every second felt like an hour. Then I heard the sound that still makes my skin crawl to this day. Soft footsteps coming up the stairs, one at a time. They stopped right outside my door. The knob turned, slow and gentle, then stopped. I could hear breathing, deep, raspy, and close enough that I imagined I could smell it. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might give me away. The operator whispered, "They're on their way. Stay quiet." I pressed my back against the wall, gripping the bat so tight my hands ached. Then, suddenly, the footsteps retreated. Down the stairs, through the hall, and then silence again. I waited until I heard the faint sound of police sirens in the distance before daring to open the door. The moment I stepped out, I heard the back door slam. When officers searched the house, they found the lock had been picked, and there were muddy footprints leading from the door to the bottom of the stairs. But whoever it was, they were gone, vanished into the night before anyone could see them. The police said it was likely a burglar who thought no one was home, but that didn't explain why they kept knocking, or why they walked upstairs after hearing me call 911. It felt personal, intentional, like they wanted to be seen, wanted me to know they were there. For weeks after, I barely slept. Every little noise sent me into panic. I started keeping the bat beside my bed and a chair jammed under the doorknob. About a month later, I got home from work one night to find a small note wedged into my doorframe. It was written in block letters, okay, messy but clear. "Lock your doors this time." I showed it to the police, but there were no fingerprints, no witnesses, nothing. They increased patrols for a while, but eventually the calls stopped. Life went back to normal, at least on the surface. Even now, years later, I still wake up sometimes convinced I hear those footsteps again. That slow, deliberate pace coming up the stairs, one creak at a time. The worst part? I moved last year to a completely different town. Okay. And 2 weeks ago, I came home from a night shift to find my front door unlocked. Okay. I know I locked it that morning before I left. Okay. And taped to the inside of the door was another note. Same handwriting. It said, "I told you to lock them." Story 2. The voice in the vent. It started on a Wednesday night. The kind of night that feels too still for its own good. I had just moved into a small, one-bedroom apartment after a bad breakup, trying to start over. The place wasn't much, but it was quiet, affordable, and came with decent neighbors. Or at least, that's what I thought at first. On my second night there, as I was unpacking boxes in the living room, I heard what sounded like someone whispering faintly. It was so soft, I thought it was just the building, settling. But when I paused, the whisper stopped too. Round midnight, I was brushing my teeth when I heard it again. A low, drawn-out whisper that seemed to drift through the air vent above the bathroom mirror. I turned off the faucet, straining to make out the words. It was faint, like a voice filtered through static. "Stan," clear as day. I heard it say, "Don't look at the door." My heart dropped. I froze, staring at the bathroom door's reflection. My hand trembled as I slowly turned around, expecting to see someone standing there. But there was no one, just my empty, dimly lit hallway. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe the voice came from another apartment, through the vents. Old buildings carry sound, weirdly, right? I turned on some music, forced myself to ignore it, and went to bed. But that night, I woke up around 3 a.m. to the sound of tapping. Not random, not like pipes, rhythmic. Tap, tap, pause, tap, tap. It was coming from the same vent near the ceiling. I got up, grabbed a chair, and climbed up to take a look. Cold air brushed my face as I leaned close, and that's when I heard it, a whisper again. This time, it said, "I see you." I fell backward off the chair, heart pounding out of my chest. I scrambled to turn on every light in the apartment, searching for any sign of someone being there. Nothing, just silence again. The next morning, I told my landlord about it. It looked uncomfortable. Said the last tenant complained about voices too, but no one ever found anything wrong with the ventilation system. That made my skin crawl even more. The last tenant moved out suddenly. No notice, no forwarding address. I tried sleeping with white noise earplugs, even sleeping pills. But no matter what I did, the whispers kept coming. Sometimes it was mumbling. Other times it was clear phrases. "You left it open," or "He is coming." One night, I recorded the sound on my phone. When I played it back the next morning, I nearly dropped it. There was a voice, but it wasn't whispering. It was laughing. A deep, gurgling laugh echoing through the vents. I stopped recording after that. About a week later, I came home from work to find my apartment door slightly ajar. I froze, listening. The air felt wrong, heavy and cold. I slowly pushed the door open and called out, "Hello?" No answer. Everything looked normal, till I saw the vent cover above my couch. It was open, screws on the floor beneath it. Something had been inside. I backed out of the apartment and called the police immediately. We arrived. They searched every corner. No one was there, but they did find something in the ventilation shaft. A small, broken Bluetooth speaker with dried fingerprints all over it. The officers said it looked like someone had been using it to play recordings through the vents. They said it was likely a prank, maybe by a previous tenant. I wanted to believe them. I even told myself it was over. But that night, I woke up again, not to whispers, but to breathing. Slow, heavy breathing from the vent above my bed. I jumped up, ready to run, but curiosity made me grab a flashlight. I climbed onto the chair, hands shaking, and shone the light inside. For a second, I saw nothing, just darkness. Then 2 pale eyes blinked back at me. I screamed, fell off the chair, and bolted out the door, barefoot and terrified. The police came again, searched everything. The vent was empty this time. No speaker. No fingerprints. Nothing. They said maybe I imagined it. That fear was making me see things. I knew what I saw. Those eyes were real. I moved out the next morning. Never even went back for my deposit. For months, I couldn't sleep without covering every vent in my new place. But about 3 weeks after I moved, I got a text from an unknown number. No message, just an image. It was a photo of my old apartment's living room, taken from above. Through the vent. Story 3. The basement door that wouldn't stay locked. It began one stormy night in early November. My wife and I had just moved into a quiet rental home in a small town. It's one of those older houses with creaky floors, tall windows, and a strange layout. Cozy, but with an unsettling stillness that made you feel watched. On the first day, the landlord casually mentioned, "Don't worry about the basement. Just keep it locked. The latch sticks sometimes." He said it so normally that I didn't think much of it. That changed within a week. The first time I noticed it was around midnight. I was heading to the kitchen for a glass of water when I saw the basement door slightly open. Just a crack, but enough to see the darkness beyond. I was sure I'd locked it earlier that evening. The house was silent, except for the faint dripping of rain outside. I shut the door firmly and turned the bolt, but as I walked away, I heard it, a dull thud, like something hitting the inside of the door. I stood frozen for a good minute before convincing myself it was just old wood shifting from the storm. The next morning, my wife asked if I had gone into the basement during the night. I told her no, and she said she'd heard faint scraping coming from below, like metal dragging across concrete. I tried to laugh it off, saying maybe pipes or rats were to blame. But when I checked the basement door again, the lock was undone. The key was still in it, but twisted slightly, like someone had turned it from the other side. I called the landlord, but he just said, "Yeah, that happens sometimes. The old place has a mind of its own." That didn't sit right with me. A few nights later, around 2:30 a.m., we both woke up to a loud bang. Came from downstairs, the kind of sound that makes your heart jump before your brain catches up. I grabbed a flashlight and went to check. The living room lights flickered slightly, casting uneasy shadows on the walls. When I reached the hallway, I froze. The basement door was wide open. The air coming from below was cold, colder than outside, damp and stale. I called out, "Who's down there?" But the only answer was the faint sound of footsteps retreating deeper into the dark. I ran to grab my phone and called 911. The police arrived within minutes, searched the basement thoroughly. They didn't find anyone, but what they did find made my blood run cold. An old sleeping bag, half buried behind some boxes, and a pile of food wrappers. Someone had been living down there. They said whoever it was probably entered through a small window in the back of the basement that had been broken and covered with cardboard. We had it repaired and reinforced that same day. After that, things felt normal for a while. We tried to move on, convincing ourselves the intruder was gone for good. But about a month later, strange things started happening again. The basement light would turn on by itself at night, even after I removed the bulb. Sometimes, we'd wake up to find muddy footprints near the door. They never led away, just to it. The police stopped taking our calls seriously, saying it was probably moisture, shadows, our imagination. Then one night, I woke up to the unmistakable sound of the basement latch clicking open. I sat up, staring down the hallway where faint light spilled from the kitchen. I quietly got out of bed, grabbed the bat by the dresser, and crept toward the noise. The door was open again, swinging slightly with each gust of wind from below. I shone my flashlight down the stairs, heart pounding so loud I could barely breathe. Something moved at the bottom, just a shadow at first, then a shape. Someone or something started climbing up. I slammed the door shut, locked it, and pushed a chair under the handle. I could hear slow, heavy breathing from the other side, then scratching, long, dragging scratches up and down the wood. My wife was crying, begging me to call the police again. I did, But the moment the sirens grew near, the sounds stopped. When the officers arrived, the door was still locked, but when they opened it, the air that came up was freezing cold, like from a cellar that hadn't been opened in years. They found nothing again. We moved out the next morning. Didn't even pack everything. We just left. Didn't care about the deposit, or the furniture, or the stuff we left behind. I just wanted to be gone. A few weeks later, I saw an article online about that same house. The new tenants had reported strange noises too, and when police investigated this time, they discovered a narrow tunnel behind one of the basement walls. Inside were old blankets, candle stubs, and a single Polaroid photo. The photo showed the basement door from the inside, and standing just behind it was a blurred figure, half smiling, as if it had been waiting all along.